All right, welcome. It is Friday night, 11:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, January the 31st, 2025. Australian boxing is back on the move, and over the last couple of weeks, barely, we've got some big boxing announcements or potential fights. For example, Tszyu versus a PBC fighter, Joey Spencer. We're going to talk about that. George Kambosos is going to be returning against. It's not official who the opponent is, but George Kambosos is going to be returning on March the 22nd in Sydney, and the opponent being rumored is a Duad Jordan. The most surprising of which boxing news is that Brock Jarvis is going to be taking on Keith Thurman. We don't know what weight it's going to be at, but the weight itself is a topic. Jason Moloney is going to be taking on poor Tenshin Nasukawa. You may remember Nasukawa from being Floyd Mayweather's second exhibition match after Conor McGregor. Well, technically, Conor McGregor was listed as a real fight, but you pretty much get where I'm going. Jason Maloney is going to be fighting him. And let's see, what else are we missing here? Nope, those are the main big topics. And basically, let's start with Kambosos. Now, Kambosos has been riding high for years off of that off of that Teofimo Lopez win. The problem I've had with George Kambosos is he talks a good game, but if we really, really look at it, I know I bring this up every video. Kambosos is when you go back to 2019, split decision against Mickey Bay, split decision against Lee Selby, split decision win against Teofimo Lopez, two clear-cut unanimous decision losses to Devin Haney. What a lot of people feel is a gift against Maxie Hughes, and then he got stopped for the first time in his career by Vasil Lomachenko. So the point I'm trying to make is he could easily be 0-7 in his last seven fights, depending on which way the judges have saw it. So this fight right here, classic. Let him fight somebody. It's a homecoming fight. And by the way, Eddie Hearn is in Matchroom Boxing is known for this. When they sign a fighter, they have a homecoming fight, and it's usually a low level type of fight to stay busy to make sure the fighter looks good in their home. Most recently, and I was at the fight with Boots Ennis versus forgot the guy's name, Karinchuk, and basically he didn't look good, But in this case, this Jordan guy, 43-4, 31 KOs. As you're looking at his resume, I know Anthony Crolla, but that was back in 2018. I might have even covered that fight, to be honest. But if you look at his resume, ain't nothing here. And the guy's not even ranked. Indonesian fighter, 37 years old. Sky Nicholson is supposed to be on this card against possibly Tierra Brown. It's going to be Sky Nicholson's first fight in Australia since when, Big J?
Oh, geez, a while.
Let me look it up. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't remember. Did she fight on the Paro Brock Jarvis card? I can't remember if she did or she didn't.
I don't think so. Hold on. The last time she was in Australia was against Christina Jacobs, 2022. That was in Brisbane.
Yeah, was that
Paro Jarvis. Yeah, it's the Paro Jarvis fight. I remember that.
Yeah, she fought Mousy Jacobs. Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
So,
Yes.
she's supposed to be fighting Tierra Brown. What have we heard on that? Is Tierra Brown interested? Because the last I heard, and this was a band around the beginning of the year, is that the last I saw was that Tierra wanted to take a interim bout.
Well, from what I'm hearing, I haven't seen anything, but I've heard that both girls are bigger.
Okay.
So,
Hold on, you're breaking up a little bit.
I said, this is what I can't understand about this, is that Guy and Tierra Brown look like they're doing media about this, but George's fight has not been announced, or hasn't been officially announced. I mean, everyone pretty much knows that he's going to be fighting this Indonesian bloke, but there's been no... The announcement was supposed to come 3 weeks ago, and nothing's happened. They just keep delaying it. And I think the reason is that they put out the feelers and said that he's going to fight this Indonesian guy, and everyone's just gone, well, that's a bullshit opponent. And no one's showing any interest. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think I think that's what the problem is that this is going to be a very, very hard sell, especially in the middle of two no limit cards. Because no limit's got the Brock Jarvis Keith Thurman card on March 12th and the Tszyu card on April 6th.
Yeah, which is the reason why they tried to stack this card up with Sky Nicholson, Shanika, and Tara Moana the best they can in the Matchroom stable. And they don't want to go promoting that Kambosos is returning against a Duad Jordan. Especially the fact that the guy's not even ranked. It's supposed to be a showcase fight, and hopefully he looks good against this guy. But also, who knows? With a fight like this, or what they're trying to do for Kambosos, I wouldn't be surprised if it'll be a different opponent entirely on the same level as Jordan.
Yeah, well, the plan is from what I'm going to fight this Tszyu tempo, and then use that and a fight mode.
Wait, who?
So that's not a really good way to put it. Either of those two. This guy is a blown-up set, mate. Well pumped. They couldn't have got a. So yeah, it's a bad look. Aren't buying into it. They're like, well, why is he when he could be fighting someone else ranked?
Yeah.
They've gone and say, oh well, this guy's a world champion. He's an IBA world champion, pretty much meaning he got his belt from a serial. So that's the lowest tier world level title you can get. That IBA belt. So it's nothing to crow about. So I think people are just not. They're trying to sell this and people aren't buying because they're like, well, why is he fighting this, washed up, blown up, Indonesian bloke who's well past his best? So
not even ranked.
I don't think people are buying into it. And the media are, we're being nice about it, but media is like, we're all saying, really, you can affect a better opponent? Why not fight Liam Paro? Why not fight somebody ranked? So
anybody ranked. He could have got anybody in the top 15.
Exactly. So no one is buying what they're selling, and I don't think it's going to sell very well at all. And as for Sky and Shanika, no one really cares about those two. I mean, it's not their fault, but Sky ain't going to sell out no stadium anytime soon.
And Tara Moana's just on there to stay busy because he's a prospect, so that makes sense. He's going to be fighting 5 times, 6 times a year.
I am looking forward to the Tiara Brown fight because I think it will really show where Sky's at.
Yeah, well, that's the most meaningful fight on the card.
Exactly. It without a doubt. Well, also the Nina Hughes Shanika rematch. That's also.
I didn't know because on BoxRec it doesn't say Nina Hughes. It's just all TBA. So that's a good fight too.
Yeah, it's heavily rumored it's going to be Nina Hughes because I thought they were supposed to fight last year, but one of them got injured or something.
Okay.
So that rematch is supposed to happen. So.
By the way, Tiara just fought a couple of weeks ago. On the 18th.
Sorry.
Tiara Brown just fought a couple of weeks ago on the 18th.
Okay. Yeah, well that's good because I'm really interested to see just how well Sky can handle this because I don't think Sky can get over Tiara Brown.
Yeah.
I don't think she can. But if she can, it'll be like, okay, that'll be good. But then from what I heard, because another no-limit fighter, Mia Motu, had her fight against Ellie Scottney the other day. Ellie Scottney completely outclassed her. And Ellie Scottney was talking about moving up to take on Sky.
I can see that happening.
And I think Ellie Scottney would beat the tar out of Sky, personally.
Yeah, so, I can see. I just watched Ellie Scottney's fight this weekend. She was having some issues early, but she ended up winning. And I do see her as being more skilled.
Yeah, she's far more skilled. So the problem is that the 126 division for women is very, very weak. There's no real, besides Amanda, there's really no one in the division.
Yeah, so, and the real money is at 135 and up.
Yeah, well, where it's at for women is 118, 122, then 130 to 147.
Yeah, there you go.
Once they get over 154,
nope, that's Clarissa Shields. She can't even find opponents up there. So, the end is at 147. 130 to 147. Like you said, 118, 122, 126 ain't nothing there. 122 barely. But yeah, 130, 135, 140, 147. That's where the money's at. That's where the Michaela Mayers, the Chantel Camerons, the Amanda
Well, that's
Serranos currently, the Katie
yeah.
Taylors, the Michaela Mayers, the Sandy Ryans, the Terry Harpers,
Elite,
the Natasha Jonases. So as you can see, the names go on.
exactly. That's where all the big names are and all the big money fights are. And bantamweight, of course, is a very, very strong division for the women.
Yeah.
But everywhere else is pretty weak. So
Yeah. So what do you think about Terry Mowan? Well, it's too early to talk about him. Ain't nothing, it's way too early. So let's just see how he plays out. But in this other fight that's supposed to be coming up, Jason Moloney's returning, and he's going to be taking on this bloke right here. I got him on the screen, Tenshin Nasukawa, former. Well, I can't say former, but he also does mixed martial arts. He fought Mayweather in an exhibition back in 2019 and got knocked out. But now he's been looking pretty good in his pro boxing career. Now with 5-0 and with 2 KOs. However, he's good, but I don't see nothing special. And I would argue that Nasukawa is the favorite to win, but do not be surprised if Jason beat him up.
well,
It would be an
Jason
upset if Jason wins. I'm telling you, it would be an upset.
Well, I can't see how, considering Jason Maloney's a former world champion and a far more experienced boxer.
Yeah.
If Jason can't get over this bloke, then he needs to call it a day.
Yeah, and Nasukawa was not known to be a like a heavy puncher.
So if Jason can't, with all the experience, I mean, Jason's had what, 30-something pro fights?
Yeah.
Several world title bouts with some of the best competition in the world. And if he can't get over a 5-fight novice, despite his martial arts background, right, which means bugger all in the boxing.
No, it doesn't. And I've been covering this guy. I can't believe I've been covering Tenshin Nasukawa for 6 years. So I'm very familiar with his fighting style, and I think that Jason can do it.
If he can't, then he probably needs to call it a day, because where else is he get not with Top Rank anymore? So unless Eddie signs both the boys up, and that's only going to lead to them fighting extremely low-level competition. So,
However, this is a Top Rank affiliated card.
yeah, I know, because it's in Japan. So,
it's going to be headlined by Junto Nakatani versus David Cuellar.
Yeah. So I hope Jason does get up, because the options are running out for the Moloney twins. I mean, they're in they just turned 33, 34.
Yeah.
They on the 10th of last month.
34.
So, yep, 34. So the boys are not in their prime anymore, and they're not exactly. They're still at the top tier, but they're not in that world title conversation. So, it might be the beginning of the end for those two, which is unfortunate. But Father Time is undefeated. But yeah, if Jason can't get over this bloke, then he probably should be calling it a day.
Yeah, and we talked about it many times. We can't, they can't say that Top Rank ain't do all they could do for him, because they've main evented multiple times, have both of them, multiple runs at titles, and they just couldn't seal it. They just couldn't hold on to it. So they got their chances, and this is their last legs. What is Andrew doing?
Apparently he's going to be. There's talk that he's going to possibly fight Chocolatito for the WBA title.
Oh no, he's going to get slaughtered.
Yeah, well, he's going to have a crack. So
yeah, let me go see if he's.
He's ranked number 2 of the WBA. That's what I heard at 115.
Let me see here.
I think that's right. I heard that on a video the other day.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at boxing scenes, so they're not updated yet. I see he's ranked number 7 by the IBF.
Yeah.
Chocolatito is ranked number 1 by the WBA, but I don't see Andrew. So yeah, I mean, maybe in the new rankings he's going to be moved up. He is ranked number 2. Oh, he's ranked number. Is it the WBA or the WBC? Because Chocolatito's ranked number 1 by the WBC. And Andrew's ranked number 2 by the WBC.
Okay, it must be at WBC then. I thought it was at WBA.
And then Bam
So-
Rodriguez is ranked number. Is the champion. So
I was gonna say,
if Andrew wants to
Bam the
get
champ-
beat up by the other brother, then that's out there.
So
Um,
that'll be.
go ahead.
But no fight announcement for Andrew yet. So, but he only fought in December. So
Yeah, Chocolatito's return is going to be big news in the boxing world. It's going to be big news in the boxing world. So this was a fight that I was surprised to hear about. It seems as though each week we're hearing of more PBC fighters fighting on other outfits. So now it's looking like Tszyu going to be returning. What is it? You said April the 6th?
April the 6th, yeah.
Against PBC's Joey Spencer. Now let me tell you about Joey Spencer. And you were right. It was Jesus Ramos and not Abel Ramos. I remember because I did that video. It was on the undercard of David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant, where Joey Spencer had got knocked out in the 7th round by Jesus Ramos. But he's going to be fighting Tszyu. Now he's 24 years old. He's got a lot of good gym stories behind him, but has never really been able to get over the hump as of yet in pro boxing. However, we don't know what Tszyu going to show up. From the issues he had with the cut against Sebastian Fedora, then thinking he was cut in his fight against Bakhram Murtazaliev, getting his shit pushed in and beat just the shit beat out of him by Bakhram Murtazaliev. He's returning against Joey Spencer. The question is like the mystique going to be going, the fear factor, and how is he going to fight? Is he going to be timid? Because we don't know. He's got knocked out. Not only the cut in one fight. He may still have issues, as you brought up before, with that. But now knowing that he can be stopped. What are your thoughts on the Joey Spencer fight?
I like it because Joey Spencer is a ranked, in prime, in shape, 154 opponent. And we all know that you could literally count on one hand how many in prime, in shape, 154 opponents Tszyu has faced in his career. Probably 5.
Yeah.
So I like this. Fight. I'd put Joey Spencer somewhere in between the vicinity of Carlos Ocampo and Brian Mendoza.
Okay.
Probably in between those two fighters.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Sorry?
I can agree with that.
Yeah. Good, solid opponent to get his win back in his sales. A dangerous opponent, but a very winnable fight. And I think that's exactly what he needed. There was a lot of people saying, he should fight some domestic level bum. I'm like, no, that's the worst thing he can do, is fight some domestic level knucklehead. Like when Jason Moloney got bloody knocked out by anyway, he didn't fight some low-level domestic bloke. He fought someone ranked.
Yeah.
And then he's a world champion. So, that's what they're doing with Tim is exactly what they should be doing, and I find no fault in it. I think they're doing exactly the right thing. And all these other people out there saying, I need to fight someone lower. Why? Give him a false sense of security, kick the crap out of some domestic level bloke, and roll over for him, fill his head, full of hopes and dreams, and that's the wrong. He needs to fight solid ranked opponents and work his way back up into the world title picture, which is going to take him a year to 18 months at least, fighting these opponents, not these blown up welterweights that he's been fighting, not these champions that haven't been champions for 3-4 years, solid, opponents. So, and I like it a lot.
So it looks like he can have a 3-fight 2025. So, by the way, Erickson Lubin, he's been ordered in a final eliminator. Geez, I forgot against who. Let me see if I can find it real quick. To be the mandatory for Bakhram Murtazaliev. And also, Bakhram Murtazaliev has announced that he's got some news coming up. Oh, yeah. Erickson Lubin is going to be fighting on ProBox on YouTube, by the way. There was a purse bid.
So, who's Bakhram going to fight? Because he doesn't have a mandatory.
That's going to be the interesting question. I want to see who is going to fight because see, if this was a time where PBC was doing financially well, they would have sealed up Bakhram Murtazaliev in a multi-fight deal. But now with the Saudis involved, and we talked about it, even though he's become somewhat of a boogeyman out of nowhere. Bakhram Murtazaliev, we talked about it before that his belt is very political. So I will not be surprised if the Saudis scoop him up. And also his promotional outfit, Main Event US, not the broadcaster, but Main Event head run by Kathy Duva. And also his manager is Igor Klimas, who manages Lomachenko, Alexander Usyk, Dennis Baranchek. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is his belt is very political, and I will not be surprised if they follow the money. And right now, the Saudis got the money. So when I'm looking at the rankings here, he's got to fight somebody in the top 15. Charles Conwell, maybe Josh Kelly, top ranked Xander Zayas. I don't think that he's going to be fighting actually in a couple of weeks. It's going to be interesting to see where Bakhram Murtazaliev goes. Now, of course, who knows? It could be Terrence Crawford, because think about this. Of course, you probably heard, I know you heard already, that the Terrence Crawford and Canelo fight has legs, that is possibly going to happen in September. But both fighters are supposed to be taking interim fights. And I wonder if we could possibly see that.
I don't think so. I think that's too big of a risk for Terrence because he didn't look that flash against Madrimov, and ain't no Madrimov.
I mean, and then also you have Jamel Charlo, who's supposed to be returning. Sebastian Fundora, I forgot who he's linked to. He's linked to a bullshit fight.
Yeah, he is. I think we talked about
Cordell Booker.
Sorry?
Cordell Booker. Sebastian Fundora is supposed to be fighting Cordell Booker.
Who the fuck's that?
PBC fighter, not like that's the same thing. That's the same thing everybody else is saying. Who the fuck is that? I've seen him fight. I know who he is, but to see that Sebastian Fundora could have fought Terrence Crawford, he could have fought Tszyu again, and now he's going to be fighting on a regular Amazon Prime card, likely in some small little bullshit arena, because he wanted to wait around and bullshit around with Errol Spence, or his team did. Now he gets nothing.
When he could have come to Australia and got probably a $3 million payday to fight Tszyu in a 60,000 seat stadium.
But now that Errol Spence is out of the picture, I wonder if we can see Fundora and Tszyu again this year. It's looking, because with all the other top fighters tied up, it's looking possible.
Maybe, but here's No Limit's plan, and we're going to get into this. No Limit want the Tszyu Keith Thurman fight, which is why Keith Thurman is fighting Brock Jarvis on March 12th.
Got you. Oh yeah. There you go.
So they want Thurman to fight Brock, use Brock as a sacrificial lamb, right, to get the ring rust and to build the interest and all that sort of stuff, to get Keith to fight Tim July, August of this year.
Makes sense. There you go. Which is the fight we're going to be talking about next. Now this I didn't see this coming out of nowhere, and we did talk about the fact that PBC clearly owes No Limit some favors between the Joey Spencer fight and now this Thurman. What you say?
More than one, that's for sure.
Yeah, because this Keith Thurman fight against Brock Jarvis, it just doesn't make any sense to me, especially when you look at the fact that, for one, Keith Thurman was a few weeks away from Hall of Fame eligibility because of his inactivity. For example, Keith Thurman is 30-1 with 22 KOs. I forgot how old Thurman is. I believe he's 35. Let me check real quick. 36. He's 36. Let me see when he's going to turn 37. He turns 37 in November. So, but here's the thing. Keith Thurman, the last time he fought twice a year was in 2019. But get this. Get this, in the last 6 years, it's been 6 years now since he fought Jose Zito Lopez, January the 26th of 2019. It's been 6 years this week. He's only had 3 fights since then. Manny Pacquiao, 2019, July. Mario Barrios, February of 2022. And, well, no, excuse me. This will be his third fight. Ridiculous. So, and when it comes to Brock Jarvis, as you can see here, let me see if the fans, they're going. Before I say it, I wanted them to look at this in the comments when they watch the video. 22-1 with 20 KOs, 27 years old. His last fight was at 160 against Adrian Rodriguez. Before that, against a Thai fighter at 144, pretty much 147. Before that, he got knocked out by Liam Paro in one round at 140, by the way. Before that, 135. Before that, 130. Before that, 126. So this guy has jumped up a division or two every single fight since 2019.
Yeah, but he was Sebastian Fandora when he was fighting that low levels. He was and bone. He looks a lot better now, I can tell you. So,
yeah, he does, but still that punch resistance though. Even though Keith Thurman's older, Keith Thurman has always been known to have some punch to him.
Well, the problem is that Keith hasn't fought in 3 years. He really hasn't fought in 6, and he's injury prone. I'll believe that Keith gets into the ring when he's got his gear on and the bell goes ding.
Yeah, there you go.
Just like I called bullshit with the Tim Tszyu fight, I'm not very confident this happens either. Because the second they announced that Tim Tszyu fight last year, I went, bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? And it turned out to be a ploy to just get the belts off Tim. So
yeah, and it worked. And now look, Tim has been knocked out and hasn't got. Yeah, if that's what you, it worked. If that was the plan.
Well, it worked perfectly. So, but yeah, I never thought for a second that Keith Thurman was actually going to get into the ring, and I'm very skeptical about this one as well. So, because I said he's injury prone, he's 36, and he hasn't fought in 3 years. So I'll believe I see it is how I'm taking this fight. But as I said before, I believe that he's being used as a sacrificial lamb to get the Thurman Tszyu fight. So, yeah, there's been a lot of media. Jeff Fennick, his trainer's been doing a lot of media, and you can see in the media that I don't think Jeff is very confident that Brock can get this done. Because let's be honest, Brock ain't no world-class fighter.
Yeah.
So he got absolutely pummeled by Liam Paro in 90 seconds. That pretty much tells you everything. He almost got knocked out by that Mexican journeyman the fight before that.
Yeah.
So Brock has been rocked several times, right, by low-level competition. He got knocked out by Liam Paro, who, I wouldn't say it was an elite fight, but a world fighter because he was a world champion. So a lot of people are saying this is a 50-50 fight because we don't know what sort of Thurman's going to show up.
Yeah.
And then you got Mick Zarafa on the undercard. People saying Zarafa should have fought Thurman. Well, how's that? Mick Zarafa's next loss will be his last, despite him signing a 2-year deal with no limits. So it's making sense yet not making sense.
The Zarafa fight is supposed to lead to Nikita, correct?
I think that's the plan because Tim has flat out come out and said multiple times, and I don't blame him. He doesn't want to give Zarafa the payday. So, which is fine. Tim has zero interest in fighting Mick, and Mick's come out and said the same thing. He goes, I've got other things to worry about at the moment, which is exactly what he should be saying. So those two need to stop worrying about each other for now and focus on other opponents. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so basically you are picking Thurman to win. Obviously, if they step into the ring, they got to get into the ring first.
If they step into the ring, I'm saying 60-40 Thurman, even though he is washed up and hasn't fought in a blown up 140 or whatever it was, blown up welterweight. Everyone's been waiting for me to say that. I don't think Brock is that good. I honestly believe that Brock beats Thurman, it'll throw a spanner into the works of what No Limit want, because Brock versus Tim ain't going to sell, but Tim versus Thurman will.
Yeah. I mean, well, one thing about Thurman is, like, when he was active, that it was a short period, but he was pretty dominant. With wins over Robert Guerrero when he was still kind of something. Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Jose Zito Lopez provided him a scare, but him losing to old man Pacquiao, that and he wasn't supposed to lose to Pacquiao. The Pacquiao he was supposed to fight. He was supposed to beat Pacquiao, and that was supposed to lead to him versus Errol Spence.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, because you remember when Keith Thurman ate a pizza like an hour before that fight. I'm like,
yeah, in the locker room, yeah.
And here's Pacquiao eating chicken and rice, and Keith Thurman's eating a pizza. Like, you fucking idiot.
And Pacquiao was eating to keep the weight up.
Yeah, exactly. Have you got that picture of that shirt I sent you? Keithie's done himself a mischief. Have you still got that?
Yeah, that's long somewhere in some file somewhere.
Yeah, well, we need to break out that shirt again. So.
All right, closing thoughts?
Well, I mean, we've got some significant fights announced. I think George, I don't see him fighting in Sydney. I think they'll take it to Brisbane, because I think that's where they should focus. Because Sydney is No Limits territory. So I mean,
they already say it. It's right here on the Matchroom page. Sydney, we're coming. That's what it says.
Well, the problem is that they've got No Limit Cup 10 days before and another No Limit card a couple of weeks after in Sydney, right when the football season's kicked off, right? That particular March 22nd is whoever done their research on the NRL draws either got very lucky or they did their research, because there's only one game. There's no games Friday night for the NRL in Sydney that Friday night. On that Saturday, there's only one game that kicks at 3 o'clock. So
yeah, but you said before, you said it yourself multiple times, that when it comes to putting on fights in Australia, Eddie Hearn is not, he always does what people think, what he shouldn't do. So you and I both know that, he don't care if it's No Limit territory or not. He's going to try to go in there and put his fight on.
Yeah. Well, I would probably stay in Queensland, because their Jai Up the Fire show was a complete success.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, what's the next fight we got on the docket? It's the February the 14th, right? Who's it? Which one is that one? Is that
You mean the Jason Moloney fight? It's
yeah, that's the 24th. February 24th. We're going to be here for Jason Moloney versus Tenshin Nasukawa. I'm going to be covering that card anyway because of Gento Nakatani. But this Nasukawa Jason Moloney card fight has my interest, because Nasukawa